Welcome to Entrepreneurs International Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I'm Roger Killen, the organizer. Today, Jacqueline Wales is training us on how to shift our mindsets so that we can create the life and the business that we want. Jacqueline, in order for us to get to know you at a personal level, I would like to ask you three questions. The first question is, what are the top qualities that attract you to other people?
Authenticity, integrity, honesty. These are three of my top things that attract me to people. People who are real, people who don't give you BS.
Okay. Question number two. What's one of your favorite quotes?
The privilege of a lifetime is knowing who you are. And that's Joseph Campbell.
You are a very profound lady. Let's try number three. Now, we each have one life. It's precious to us all. With the one life that you've been given, what impact would you like to have?
I would like to help people understand that fear is a choice, that we are all capable of being fearless, because being fearless is not the absence of fear, but the courage to take the next step. And in fact, fear matters to your success simply because it's a signal for growth.
Oh, more profound. I love it. All right, participants, now it's your turn. Please turn on your video. From Jacqueline's point of view, it's not much fun talking to black rectangles with a name in the middle. She gets her energy from you. Please have the courtesy to come on camera and just wow her, because she will reciprocate by wowing us all back. Number two, please stay muted, but if you do have a question, please type it into the chat. About every 10 minutes during Jacqueline's talk, I will batch the questions and ask them to Jacqueline. Rest assured, your question will be posed to Jacqueline during her talk. Now, you're going to be sent a link to the recording of Jacqueline's talk in a few hours, but I nevertheless encourage you to take notes, because the very act of taking notes is going to help you absorb Jacqueline's content. Jacqueline, are you ready to knock our socks off?
I will do my very best, Roger.
Take it away. The show is yours.
Terrific. So you're here today because you're curious about shifting your mindset to create the life and the business that you want. So what is shifting your mindset all about? It's about simply thinking differently. And when we think differently, we behave differently. And so over the course of these next few minutes, and I've got 55 minutes with you, I'm going to give you some deep insights into how you can do that and the things that you should be paying attention to if you really are to live the life that you want to live and create the career that you want to create as well. And as we go through this, I'm going to be asking some questions. I want you to put it in the chat so that I can respond to it, and you can share with other participants in the program this afternoon. So I believe in a lot of interaction. I love to connect with my audience. And so there's a lot of information here. As Roger said, take notes, because you will not remember all of this. And if something hits you as fairly profound and manages to change your way of thinking about a certain thing, then absolutely make a note of that, and we'll go from there. But I think this is going to be a very lively session. So let me start first of all with who am I? So I've been coaching and advising now for 17 years. I am also a certified consultant for human synergistics behavioral assessments, accredited consultant for global leadership wellness, and I'm the author of 3 books, including The Fearless Factor at Work, When the Crow Sings, a novel, and coming up next, The Fearless Factor, Women Leading the Way. And as you can see from this, I also hold a black belt in Shotokan Karate. I'm a professionally trained singer, and I've lived on 3 continents. And I now, and have been for quite some time, mother to 4 amazing adults. So that's really my background in a nutshell. There's a lot more story than what's here in these bullet points, but I think that's enough to give you a flavor of who I am. So let's ask the first question. What needs to change? Now, there are certain things here you can see, which is that, you know, you've reached a brick wall. You're concerned about not having the right goals. Are you procrastinating? And do you think you're going to be happier if you have more social success and more money? Well, that depends on how you're actually thinking about life. And what I like to say about success is it's not dependent on the stuff. It's dependent upon how you actually feel. And we're going to dive into a lot more of what that is. And I think I'm still being gatekeeper here, so I'm going to put myself over there. So here we go. There are 3 things you need to.
Jacqueline, I'll take over the admit button.
Brilliant. So 3 things to think about. Start where you are. You know, we're always focused on over there. We got to get over there, but we got to think about here, right now. Where are you? We need to also dare to dream. And I don't just mean dream, little dreams. Dream big. Think about all the things you can actually do that is much, much bigger than you give yourself credit for. Much more than you think you're even capable of. And when you stretch yourself like that, and you face the fears, by the way, because that will show up big time, loud and nasty in your face, in your ears, in your head. We'll talk about being in your head in a little while. That's what I want you to do. You've heard about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Set them. And even if you don't reach the moon or the stars, you actually have gotten a lot further than you think you can get. The third piece of this, of course, is take action. You've got to be in action, because a dream without actions is simply wishful thinking. You might as well just sit where you are in your safe little space. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you've got to take the risks, and you've got to push yourself beyond that comfort zone. Because as I like to say about change, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's what this business is all about. And every single one of you on this call today knows that. Like it or not, it is what it is. So where do we start? So where are you now? Are you satisfied with where you're at? Or do you feel like you could do better? I would imagine that since you're here, the answer to that is you probably think you can do better. Where do you want to go? That's another big piece. Again, that's tied into your vision. And then, of course, we have to look at what obstacles are getting in your way and how are you going to overcome these obstacles. So I want you to think about that right now. And if you want to put something in the chat, you know, let's start with one thing. Where do you want to go? What is it that you want? How do you see your vision for the future? Do you want to plug something in there? 2 or 3 words. Nothing significant. Love to hear from you.
Nothing in the chat yet, Jacqueline?
Nothing in the chat. All right. Well, then we're not going to linger, because if you don't want to answer that one, let's go to the next one.
Oh, Lakeisha wants to be a successful entrepreneur.
Excellent.
Jason wants to increase his keynote speaking.
Beautiful. So those are worthy goals, and we can all achieve them.
Carolee wants to connect with people to be successful. Ada says analysis paralysis.
Very true. When we overthink stuff, we tend to limit ourselves. So we've got to watch out on that. And we're going to be talking about negative thinking in a few minutes as well. But here's a bigger question. Why do you want to change? And that's really tied into what I was just saying. So here's some ideas here. Developing greater confidence. Now, I come across that one a lot, especially in my women clients. Women who have already achieved a great deal, because I work with high achieving women. And I've also seen that they hold themselves back from taking the next big leap. And it was mentioned earlier about the imposter syndrome. And that's really all about fundamentally, am I good enough? And of course, the answer is we're all good enough, but we've got to get rid of the messaging that is part of that mindset shift that we started the program with today. Making better choices is also another big piece of this. We've all got to be able to make the choices that work for us. Now, many times you go into the analysis paralysis simply because you don't know which choice to make. But choices can always be changed. And that's the other side of it. And of course, making better choices. We've all made bad choices. Let's face it. We've all had times in our lives when you thought, well, that wasn't a good idea. But we always have the ability to make a different choice. And being in fear, which is my favorite subject and the one I've written a lot about and talk about a lot, is simply a choice. And we can make better choices around that. Identifying your values and setting some clear goals. That's another big piece. And we're going to address that one shortly, because I think that's another aspect that we don't always sit down and analyze. And frankly, all of this that I'm talking about today demands a great deal of self-reflection. And if you're not spending any time really diving in and asking the deep questions and really getting honest with yourself, frequently we're just creating the stories that don't necessarily serve our needs. And that comes into being more authentic. When you're being you and trusting that being you is good enough, and trusting that the universe or the world or whatever else is going to respond favorably to being you, then you manage to stand up a little bit taller, a little bit broader, and your voices are a little bit louder. Clarifying your vision and purpose is also tied into the identifying values and setting clear goals. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And here's another big one, communicating your needs more effectively. How many of us stumble over, what are you doing for a living? Well, I do this and I do that, and you get a long, long story. And then they tell you to create a 15 or 30-second elevator pitch. And that doesn't even come close to telling people who you are and what it is that you're doing. So communicating your needs more effectively is learning how to have the conversations that matter. And whilst I'm not touching on this in any depth on this particular presentation, it is an important piece for you to consider. And of course, one of the big things about communications is learning how to listen, listening for what's being said and listening so that you can interact with people meaningfully. And Roger gave you some idea on that when people say, well, I don't want your services because they're too expensive or whatever the case may be. So you want to stay curious and open. That's another big piece of communication. And building a strong network. Well, you're here today because you want to build a network. You're in a network, and the connections that you're making here are important. So we want to be influencers, i.e. we want to influence other people. And we also want to be able to feel that we can create a circle of influence with others as well. Roger's a master at this. So I would say, pay attention to what he has to say. In the short time I've known him, he's got a lot to say. All right, so let's go to the next one. The power of the brain. People seem to think that your brain is something that doesn't necessarily change. You've heard the old adage of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, that's the biggest bunch of BS that ever was spun by people who really couldn't think further than their nose, frankly. Your brain is constantly renewing itself. It's a muscle. And if you go to the gym and then you don't go to the gym, your muscles will atrophy. And if you're not using your brain, it will atrophy. So we as entrepreneurs are constantly challenging ourselves to think differently, to do things differently, to take a different approach, to find ways to get people engaging with us. So our brains are actually pretty damn good for the most part. But again, change your thinking and you will change your life, as Dr. Wayne Dyer once said. Your brain is definitely a piece, and it's a magnificent part of your body. And as it says on the end, neuroplasticity, the brain is constantly resetting itself. Now, here's the thing about the brain. I like to say most of us operate on default levels. We have thinking that basically that's what it is. And, you know, we get stuck in a channel. So if you think of the brain as these little crenellations, they're little channels all around. When you're thinking differently, when you're challenging yourself to think differently, you're setting new neural channels. And that's a really important piece right there. You're not the same person you were maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. And certainly we've all changed in the last 2 years. But when we think about how we've changed over the years, your brain has changed too. Believe it or not, I used to think I was a really stupid person. And I thought that way until I was in my mid-30s, until it was pointed out that I wasn't anything but. I was, I was smart. And now I know I'm smart. But for a long time, I played into, I don't have a brain. Well, I do have a brain and I know how to use it. And so do you. So we can change if we want to. And this is a big piece right here, if you think about that. You've developed habits over your lifetime. As I said earlier, ways of thinking, ways of behaving, things that have served you to some degree, but may not be serving you at this point in time. So you have to start thinking about how you can change the patterns that are in your brain. And that's definitely quite doable, but it takes effort. So I just want you to think about that. Training your brain takes effort. We can't be lazy about it. Like, nope, don't want to go down there. So let's look at this next slide because this is an important one. In a study done at the University of Chicago, they found that 70% of our day is spent in negative thinking. Think about that for a minute. 70%. We frequently put our attention on the negative and ignore the positive. And that's a piece that I think most of us can probably relate to. People think in black and white. It means that they filter things into positive and negative, perfection or failure, right or wrong. And when there's no gray area, life becomes very polarized. It's not what people say to you that is a problem because people talk. It's really all about how you talk to yourself. And that means that you've got to change the messaging.
Jacqueline, are you ready for a question?
I am, absolutely.
Question from Leslie. The brain is one thing. The mind, is it the brain or something different?
No, it's the same thing. It's impulse. What is the mind but impulse? Thinking is impulse. So we're firing all day long. And right now your brain is firing like crazy, trying to take in the information that I'm giving to you. My brain is firing because I want to make sure that I'm delivering information that matters to you. And clearly I've put a lot of thought into this because you can see from the slides, there's things to think about. So the brain and the mind are the same thing. The mind is not an ethereal thing that's out there. It is ethereal on some level because you can't empirically feel it. You can't touch it. You can't touch your brain either. You can only assume that what's going on in there is part of why the rest of you works, because let's face it, our bodies would not work without the brain. When your brain is dead, your body shuts down. You're dead. So it's not just your heart stopping. The brain needs to stop getting the messaging that's going on. So you burn yourself, or you touch something hot, you're going to pull away instantly because the message goes directly to your brain. You don't want to go there. And the same thing is true of fear, by the way. Fear is what sets the brain into the dysfunctional thinking that takes place. And we all know it, including me. I spent a great deal of my life in fear. And I'll tell you why I do the work I do is because I had very early childhood, a tremendous amount of fear from a hugely dysfunctional, violent, alcoholic background. So I had to overcome that. Self-esteem was low, confidence was low. I did all kinds of stuff that really shouldn't have been doing. However, at the end of the day, I had to learn, reset my brain on positioning myself differently. And that's what I'm inviting you to do today. And this little exercise that you're reading about right now, even if you don't write it down, at least think about it, because that's an important part of this equation as well.
Okay, 2 more questions. Kareem asks, what about subconscious mind versus conscious mind? Is the brain the conscious mind?
The brain is the conscious mind. If we think of the brain, if we're going to do a brain thing, back of the brain is what we call the amygdala. And this is the primitive brain. This is the brain that says fight or flight. And if we're in that mode, then it's the back of the brain that's in there. And I'm not going to go into all the parameters of the brain. But here's the other thing about the thinking. It starts at the front of your head. It's called the executive function. It's the frontal lobe. That's where you make your decisions. That's where you make choices. That's where you get to move around in terms of decisions and anything else that you want to do. Executive brain. It's leadership. The front of your brain is leading you. The back of your brain has got the brakes on it, pulling you back or saying, get the hell out of here. The primitive brain, and it's to your point, the conscious versus the subconscious. The subconscious is hard to surface, absolutely. But if you know intuitively there's stuff that needs to change, then you're going to use your conscious brain, your executive function, to try to define what needs to change and how we're going to move forward. I hope that answers the question. It's a generalized answer, but that's the best I can give you at this moment in time. Is there anything else, Roger?
Yes, Miguel asks, how about the mindset? How do you address the problem of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset?
Very, very good question. This is based on the works of Carol Dweck, who first brought she wrote a book called Mindset. And she talks about the fixed mindset as people who know what they know, they do what they do, and they figure that's just what life is. And there's a lot of people who live their life that way. The growth mindset says, I know what I know, and I've had these experiences that have, shown me different ways of thinking and being. And I'm always open and curious to be able to explore other things. Now, entrepreneurs, as a rule, have a growth mindset. We have to. People who get stuck in jobs that are all about status quo and they don't want to shift or budge, that's the fixed mindset at work right there. So we have to, we all get into both sets at some times or another. But the growth mindset is the one that will give you the greatest opportunity to expand your mindset, expand your behavior, and really start to create the life that you truly want. I definitely feel like I'm a growth mindset person. Roger, I'm pretty sure you are too, because we're willing to explore. We're not willing to just accept that that's what it is. Is there anything else?
No further questions. Back to you, Jacqueline.
Okay, so what can you do to change your mindset? Okay, first one is find the strength to fully claim your authority. Now, what does that mean? That means that I'm confident enough to know who I am. Remember the quote I said to Roger, the privilege of a lifetime is knowing who you are. That was Joseph Campbell, famous mythologist, had an awful lot to say about human behavior based on studies of different cultures around the globe over pretty much the entire existence of humanity. So claiming your authority, finding the strength to fully claim your authority is truly about developing your confidence to say, I know who I am, I know what I am bringing, and I know that I can make a difference. Because after all, that's why we're all in business. We want to make a difference. It's not just about making money. Some people it is, but for a lot of people, they're driven by purpose. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The second one is develop the will to overcome the negative emotions holding you back. And the key word in that is the will. Do you have the strength of will to say, I can see and I can hear and I can understand these negative emotions that might be holding me back? So if fear is one of the main drivers of your existence, then you have to have the will to say no more. And here's what I have to say about fear. Unless you have empirical evidence, fear is simply a story you made up. It's just the stories we tell ourselves. So overcoming your negative emotions, when you hear voices in your head that are negative, ask who's doing the talking. Thinking about, who set that message there in the first place. I guarantee you it wasn't you. Building the courage to take the next step and discover and honor who you really are, again, is very much in line with those two things that I just pointed out to you. And shifting your mindset, well, that's the key right there. If you're doing everything that these first three steps say, you will create the desired success that you want. But it's work, and you've got to be diligent. I like to say there are 5 things that makes up for success. First is commitment. The second piece is focus. The third piece is discipline. The fourth piece is follow through. The fifth piece is consistency. And the sixth piece is perseverance. And as entrepreneurs, we need all 5 of these things running at all times. Commitment, focus, discipline, follow through, consistency, and perseverance. And when you fall down, you get back up again. I do not give up easily. That's my motto. Tell me I can't do it, I'll tell you, watch me. And I think a lot of you can probably relate to that. Anything coming up on that particular subject, Roger?
All quiet on the Western Front.
Okay. How am I doing so far? Thumbs up?
Oh, wait. Having said that, somebody proved me wrong. Miguel wants to say, can you address how both mindset address the challenge to failure? I think plural. Can you address how both mindsets address the challenge to failure?
So what is failure? Let's talk about that for a second. What is failure? It's a choice, a decision, or an expectation that did not go the way that you wanted it to. That's it. Failure is simply something that didn't work out. Period. Did it kill you? No. Will you get past it? Yeah, if you keep an open mind and you're willing to make some changes, then yes, that's it. We've all had failures in our life. And what I like to say is we're all failing our way to success. Think about that for a minute. Fail often. Fail to learn. Fail to grow. And the worst failure of all is the failure to try. You never know what's going to happen. And if it didn't work out, there's only one word for it: next. That's it. So in terms of mindset and failure, you got to wrap your head around the fact that it isn't fatal. And I hear it all the time. What's your biggest fear? Failure. Okay, great. How many times have you failed at something in your life? Yeah, probably quite a few. Did you get over it? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. Next. So I have a very blunt approach to failure. I think we dwell on it too much. I don't think we need to dwell on it. I think we need to say next and move on to what can we do differently.
No further questions?
Terrific. So, dare to dream. Dreaming is risky. Dreaming is something that frequently we're told to manage our dreams or keep ourselves, playing small because we're afraid to dare to dream. I was told as a young girl not to dream simply because dreaming got you in trouble. That was the message my mother gave me because her dreams had been thwarted at a very early age. And so she thought she was trying to save me, but she basically said, forget about dreams, just get on with the practical details of life. Well, look where that got me. Clearly, I didn't take her advice. So here I am. So creating a personal vision is really, really important. And if you haven't sat down and really thought about what are you doing in a year from now? What will your life look like in a year from now? In fact, let me ask that question and put that in the chat for me. What do you want to be doing in a year from now?
I want to be doubling my impact. I'm waiting for others to type into the chat. Total telepathy without reliance on third parties. My 8th book being published. Back where I was before pandemic, I would like to be able to educate more people on things I'm passionate about, growing a business, not what I'm doing today, have my TV show on a network. How about what would I like to be doing a year from now? Helping animal related businesses with their branding, And Richard wants a 4-week vacation.
Great. So, vision provides a source of hope, a hope for something much better than what we have right now. And some of your vision that you're sharing with me, I would say sit down and make it even more granular. Stephen Covey talks about begin with the end in mind. And you've all heard that if you've read his books, these 7, whatever it is. I can't remember the title of it offhand, but there we are. Begin with the end in mind. So you start with, this is what I want in a year from now, or 3 years from now, or 10 years from now. And then work your way backwards. What are the things you need to be doing to make that happen? So let's take a wee bit of a deeper dive in this one here. So here's the thing I want to talk about first is pride. Now we say pride cometh before a fall. It's very biblical, but the truth of the matter is there are things that are meaningful to us and we are proud of. And the best way to plan for your future is start by building on your strengths and building meaning into that. So what are you most proud of? And I want you to maybe put in the chat right now, what are you most proud of? Just one thing.
If I had children, I would hope I would be most proud of them, but in that absence. So we have Unique G, mentoring and traveling, making a difference. Richard, running a marathon. Diane, patience, not giving up. Stephanie, that I have been in the same profession 43 years. Unique G, my resilience. Laura, making my portfolio website. Donna Marie, raising 2 wonderfully successful daughters. Carolee, my children and grandson. Miguel, I am proud of my relationship with the Lord Jesus. Azure, persistence and resourcefulness. Tracy Blue, my ability to help others and the patience and enjoyment while I'm doing it. Sherry, support of others to see them succeed. And Jason, proud to help his clients.
Beautiful. So the thing about something you're proud of, as it says on the very bottom here, how have these accomplishments informed who and what you are being and doing today? And I don't want you to answer that one right now, but I want you to think about that question. How have my accomplishments informed who I am and what am I doing today? And, I mentioned earlier, I've written 3 books, and the first book I wrote was a semi-autobiographical book based on family history. And the 2 Fearless Factor books, and now the 3rd one that's upcoming. If someone had told me, 15 years ago when I was writing the first book that I would end up writing personal development books, I would have gone, yeah, right, not so much. But everything that I went through in order to train myself to write that first book was very handy when it came into writing the following books. I learned a lot about that. So, and I'm very proud of that because I'm the first generation person who went to college, got an education. And of course, as Roger said, earlier, I started in Scotland. I grew up in Scotland, but I left as soon as I could. And I've been traveling the globe ever since. And so there's a lot that I'm very proud of. And mostly I'm very proud of the 4 children that I've had the privilege of being mother to. So that would be my pride going forward. The next thing you want to look at is your passion. Now, everybody says, go find your passion and, your life's going to be great if you can find your passion. To some degree, it's true. It drives your ambition. If you don't have a passion for what you're doing, you should not be doing it. I have super passion for what I'm doing. And as you probably can tell, I could talk about this shit all day long. But there it is. It's my passion to help change the world one person at a time. That's my goal. So I want you to think about what's your passion? What is that source of energy that gets you up in the morning and says, yes, let's go do it? Or you could wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you a question about it and you would be like, yeah, I got an answer. Whether you're tired or not, you got an answer. And you want to describe, what your passion is. So again, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit in the chat box for the moment. What's your passion? Just one word. Yeah, or a short phrase. Go ahead. Teaching and sharing information, creativity. I can relate to that one. Create change. Yes, absolutely. Impact, making a difference, helping people with anxiety, achieving greatness, better cash flow. Yeah, we could all use more money. That would be nice. Is it a passion though? That would be my question. Changing lives. Yeah, this is all great. So again, if you're writing notes down, and as I asked you to when we were starting this presentation, write down some of these questions, because if you give it some thought afterwards and you really start to drill down on it, I think you might find some interesting answers. Next one is purpose. Purpose is really important. When you stay on purpose and refuse to be discouraged by your fears, you align with the infinite self in which all possibilities exist. I truly believe this, that when we have a sense of purpose, and there are 3 innate needs of every human being. The first one is the need for belonging, the need for community, and you're in community right now. The second piece is the need for empowerment. We need to have some autonomy in our life. We need to feel like we have some kind of in control of our particular being, shall we say. And the third one is meaning, and meaning and purpose kind of go together. So these are the 3 innate needs of every human being: belonging, empowerment, and meaning. So knowing what your purpose is drives everything else. You've got your pride, your passion, and your purpose. All 3 of those are interconnected. And these are the things that make sure that you are on the right track, not getting run over by the things that are meaningful to you and will make a difference in the world in general. So we're coming up on question time again. So I'm open for questions.
I'm afraid there are none, Jacqueline. And a
Okay.
little time check. You have 15-ish minutes left to go.
Thank you. So here's the ways you can visualize your passion. Think of work in terms of what the work produces. Focus on a small corner of the market that no one else is occupying. I work in a field that is incredibly crowded. There are so many coaches and consultants out there, especially here in Northern California. I don't know about Canada, but certainly here, it's like a bad rash on a Saturday night. You do not want to be there. Read about how other people are embracing different work for themselves. And of course, building an alliance of people who share your passion. That's going to be really important.
So Jacqueline, there are now 2 questions.
Yes.
From Leslie, can purpose change? And from Richard, how do you find your passion? First, Leslie, can purpose change?
So how do you find, can purpose change? Yes, it can. Purpose changes if your vision for your future changes. So, you know, if I started out my career thinking, I just want to be a coach and help individuals get better at who they are and, you know, teach them some of the lessons that I've learned in my lifetime. And, you know, is that enough? No, it wasn't enough. It took me a while to find out what more was going to be. Now I have an online program that is the culmination of 10 years of work. So my purpose has changed. I want to take it to companies who are willing to invest in their valuable employees to help them become more self-aware, more productive, more engaged, and generally find a way to help them be better human beings. And that means that my purpose, while essentially it's still the same, has changed a little bit in terms of the focus. So when we talk about purpose, again, you're always going to find the glimmer of what is it that got you started on this journey in the first place. And it might morph into something bigger. Doesn't really matter. So yeah, your purpose will change depending on where you put your focus. That's really what it comes down to. Finding your passion. Passion is an interesting thing. There's a book out there called The Passion Test. If you want to go check it out, that'll teach you a lot about passion. It's quite old. I think it's been around for about 10 years or more, but it's called the passion test. But if you're looking at your passion, what is it that really excites you? That's how you find your passion. I mean, this is my passion, teaching, talking about what I care about. That's my passion. And that's what your passion is too, because you like to talk about it. You like to engage in it. How many of you here love to cook? You love to cook. That can be a passion. Certainly one of mine. I love to cook. Pretty good at it too. What else are you good at? What are the things that make you happy? I took up knitting at one point. It was kind of nice, relaxing, but it wasn't really what it was going to ring my bells. Not my passion. So think about that. I did martial arts for years. That was a passion. I loved it. I loved having fights with people. It's in my nature. So think about the things that are absolutely ringing your bell. There's your passion right there. And if it really matters to you, put more time in it.
Richard wants to know how you find your passion. And as you answer Richard, Donna Marie would like you to return to the passion, pride, purpose slide.
Okay. So how do you find your passion? Well, it's pretty much what I just said. You know, sit down and make a list of the things that you get excited about. What do you like to do? Who do you like to be with? What do you like to do when you're with people? You know, these can be passions as well. So it's really about identifying, as I say, that spark of energy, that insight, that sense of there's something more than me, by the way. So it's varied. I don't know who you are and what really matters to you, but if you want to tap into what's my passion, really the simplest thing I can say to you on this is what gets you excited.
Nadine wants to know how you overcome procrastination, and Donna Marie would still like you to return to the pride,
Okay.
passion, purpose slide.
Let me see if I can get back there. I'm going forward. I want to go back. Here we go. This one?
No, one further. The pie chart. There you go. That's it. Okay, so while that's displaying, Nadine wants to know how to overcome procrastination.
So what is procrastination? Procrastination is, we all do it, frankly. Procrastination is something that, you know, some people love to procrastinate long enough because they love deadlines. And when you've got a deadline in front of you, you'll go for it. Procrastination is frequently on tasks that you really don't want to do, in which case, if you can afford it, go find somebody who does want to do it. It's not your bag. So you go find somebody else who loves what you do. I have an assistant who loves all this online, figuring out the complexity of automated systems. I can't stand dealing with this. I don't like spreadsheets either. They give me nausea every time I look at a spreadsheet, and some people love them. I look at a spreadsheet and I go, ew, that's a lot of information in one go. I'm a creative. I'm a big picture thinker. Give me a big vision. I'll type up a Word document before I'll open an Excel spreadsheet. So you have to look at it in terms of what are you procrastinating about? And how is it serving you? Because clearly a lot of procrastination creates worry. It creates a sense of you know, I'm failing at something. Procrastination is frequently because I don't have all the answers, which is another reason. So procrastination is a mindset. And as I said, some people love procrastinating because they work better under the stress of it gotta get done now. Tomorrow, I've got to have this presentation out. I used to be that way. I'm a little bit better about it at this point. But that's the real deal on procrastination. Setting priorities, figuring out what's really important to me to do. And if you're not doing it, then what's the reward of not doing it becomes another question around the issue of procrastination. Could probably go a long time on that subject, but not today.
No further questions, Jacqueline, and you have 11 minutes left.
All right, let me quickly get you through the next section. So we're going to look at three things here. Physics and career building is all about, you know, the laws of motion. And when something is set in motion, it stays in motion, and when it stops, it's hard to get going again. Think about when you were at the gym regularly before COVID hit in, and then you stopped being in the gym and it was hard to get going again. So, you know, getting going again is losing the momentum. And once you can get momentum around what you're doing, it makes it much easier to keep it going. And I would like to say that momentum is created by having a clear vision of what it is that you're doing and why it matters to you, bringing in all the forces of your purpose and passion to bear on this so that you keep that energy flowing and keep the momentum. And it says here the direction you take is not as important as the act of beginning. I'd say that's true to some degree. Beginning is everything, and then the direction is important. Many people say to me, you know, don't I know how to do things, you know, why it matters, or the how of whatever it is that you're doing. The how sometimes doesn't matter. What is clear is about, I'm going this way, and I have to figure out the how as I go along. So the act of beginning is really the key. It's like getting your shoes on and going to the gym. Getting your shoes on is the hardest part. Once you get your shoes on and once you get there, you go, why did it take me so long to get here? Procrastination, of course, you know. But why did you hesitate on going? Because once you're there, you're having a great time. You're really happy you did this for yourself. And I know this because, as I said, I did martial arts for years, and then I took up CrossFit 6 years ago. And I took up CrossFit at a time when I was really out of shape, and it kicked my butt, and I became passionate about it. And now I've been working out in my garage for 2 years, but I got all the equipment, so it makes it work. There you go. All right, let's put positive affirmations in here as a piece. Some people like them, some people hate them, but what they do is they instill a sense of confidence in your abilities. And so when you get into a place of I believe, and I make a lot of I believe statements in order to avoid things that, you know, I'm getting myself in a pickle about. When you can make statements about who you are, where you're going, put them somewhere where you can see them and you stand by it, these are great. So write 3 positive statements about yourself. And right now, let's have a moment. Write a positive statement about yourself in the chat box.
I am optimistic. I am caring. I love, think, and grow rich. I approve of myself. I am creative. I am a great ideator. I love to achieve success. I don't give up. I am wonderfully creative. Seriously, my pen just ran out of ink. Okay. I am creative. I'm authentic and creative. My unique ability to articulate complex concepts simply. I love myself.
I love it. I love it. And so here's the thing that I would say to you. If you truly believe this, don't hesitate to think about that, and maybe even write it on a Post-it note and put it where you can see it in case you get those days. And we all get those days as entrepreneurs where you wonder, why am I bothering with this? I don't seem to be getting any traction. I don't seem to be going anywhere. But there is a piece here about helping to keep you motivated, keep you moving forward. And yes, I love that APB is fearless, because here's what I like to say, and I said this at the beginning, just a reminder, being fearless is not the absence of fear, but it's the courage to take the next step. Because even in high achieving women that I've worked with for many years now, they still have the fears, and that imposter syndrome still shows up, and they're still trying to prove themselves. And this is a big piece right now. So being fearless is, yeah, I know there's fear there, but I'm going to get to the other side of it. There's a can-do attitude, and that's what makes it work. So what you can do today, start today by looking for an opportunity to express your passion. Write down the action steps you're going to do today, next week, next month, whatever the case may be. Look at who you need to support you, what resources you need to currently, what you have, and what resources you will need. And these are lists. And I want you to really take a screenshot of this if you need to, but definitely this is your action steps on what you need to do to build that vision, take that passion and make it real, and start changing that mindset so that you truly get to be the success that you're looking for. And here's my final words on this. You are full of infinite possibilities if you believe in yourself and your ability to succeed. No one, and I mean no one, can stop you from becoming who you want to be, what you want to do, if you have the vision, passion, and purpose. Oops, I'm going to go back again to that one. I moved my mouse. Your actions each day to attain your dreams, and don't let the obstacles stop you. Find a way to get beyond them. And as I said, remember that being fearless is not the absence of fear, but the courage to take the next step and keep moving. And that little slogan there, believe in yourself and you'll be unstoppable, absolutely true. So before I go to the last piece here, let's see here. We are fearless in the pursuit of our dreams. This is part of the Fearless Woman Manifesto that I created, and it's very much of a piece. And I think this is something for all of us to linger on. We are fearless in the pursuit of our dreams. Otherwise, who wants to be an entrepreneur? It's hard work. It's hard work, and there's a lot of risk involved. But we're here doing what we do because we want to do our own thing. We want to be in charge of who we are. And so to do that, we've got to be pretty fearless. So talk to me if there's any questions. Roger, any questions?
And there are no questions. We're ready for your closing remarks and your offer.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to leave it with you. I hope this has been helpful. I hope that it has inspired you. I hope that it's given you some strategic things that you can think about and do if you're not already doing them. And as you go forward in this journey of changing your mindset to develop the career and life you truly want to embrace, be aware that it is a process. There's no there. There's only a point in the distance that goes, yeah, that's where I'm going to. And then when you get there, there is another mountain right on the other side of it, because that's the nature of life. That's what we do. And as I used to say when I was hiking mountains, including those in Canada, you're going up a big hill, just keep taking it one step at a time, and we go from there. So that's my presentation for you today. And whoops, I'm going to take you into the last one. So here's what I want to offer you just for today. I want you to book a call with me for 30 minutes. To help you identify the changes you need to make to accelerate the success that you truly want. Now, I want you to let you know that this is not a coaching call. This is simply an informational piece right now. Like all of you, I'm certainly open for more coaching clients, and I'd be very happy to talk to you about that if that's what you're looking for. And I also have an online program that is absolutely built to create greater self-awareness and really get you reflecting on the things that matter to you. So if you're interested in this conversation, I want you to book a call with me today, right now. And I would also suggest that if you want to go to my website, JacquelineWales.com, and you want to download my Inner Game PDF, which is available to you, that's another option. But this offer is for today only. So don't hang around. Don't, wait until my calendar is too full and you can't get in.
Jacqueline, I'm getting questions asking, is the charge $197?
No, it's free. It's totally free. I'm giving you this as my gift for you because I want to see you succeed. So it is totally free, not charging you for this. But as I say, it's not a coaching call. Just want to help you get some clarity on what it is you need and how you're going to get there.
Great.
So that's it. Thank you very much.
On behalf of 80-something thousand of us, wow, you sure covered an awful lot of territory. Not simple territory, but you have a remarkable knack of taking the complex and making it very simple, very actionable. And for that, EIN and our members, thank you to the moon and back. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you, Roger, for having me. I truly appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure to be here with all of you today and share the information that I'm passionate about and truly believe we can all change the world one person at a time, and we can do it together.